Thank you, Kristen and Mark. It's been a pleasure serving on the board of the United Way of Greater Waterbury with you both. Thank you for joining me for this special presentation on ALICE. I would like to thank Platinum corporate sponsors, Savings Bank of Danbury, for sponsoring this segment. What is the toll on families who can't make ends meet? And how can we share an accurate view of that toll to help struggling individuals and families? This year, United Way released the latest ALICE report, adding to the data that has been collected and shared for the past 8 years, enabling us to reliably understand what it costs to live in our communities. ALICE is an acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed, and describes families and individuals who make more than the poverty level, but less than the minimum threshold to make ends meet in Connecticut. Although clearly struggling, many at the ALICE threshold earn too much to be eligible for public assistance. Often essential workers who have no savings and are living at risk for increased financial instability, these people are our neighbors, friends, and family. We can use this data to inform action in the 20-plus states that are part of the ALICE movement. The report provides detailed insights right down to the town level. The first 4 findings are from the 2023 ALICE report. The final finding is informed by a tool called the ALICE Essentials Index, something we're deploying this year with our partner, United for ALICE. I cannot overemphasize the value that this information has as we use it to improve lives. Let me lead you through these findings. We know financial hardship exists, but the value of the ALICE report is in the hard numbers. Nearly 40% of households in our state are ALICE. Take a moment to let that sink in. Connecticut is lower than the national average and 1 percentage point higher than in 2018. However, ALICE jumped from 28% of the state's households in 2007 to 39% in 2021. There was no recovery from the Great Recession for ALICE households. Let me bring it home to Greater Waterbury. Take a moment to find your hometown or the town where your friends and family live. Having a job does not guarantee financial stability. ALICE lives everywhere. Note that childcare is the largest line item in the household survival budget for a single adult, and a family of 4 with 2 working parents, 1 infant, and 1 preschooler. Look at the wages needed to support basics and realize how few of our essential workers meet that income level. You can see that the data lags because of the logistics involved with data collection. Realize that the temporarily increased federal child tax credit and child and dependent care credits have expired. Traditional public assistance does not reach all people in households that are struggling financially. Due to income and assets limits, most ALICE households are not able to participate in public assistance. In 2021, the federal poverty level for a single person was equal to $12,880. And for a family, it was $26,500. And in that year, only 12% of people living below the ALICE threshold in Connecticut received general assistance support. United for ALICE estimates that 45% of Connecticut households living below the ALICE threshold with children did not receive the enhanced federal child tax credit. Also, the Urban Institute and Brookings Institute Tax Policy Center notes that while the tax credit was temporarily expanded and renewed for 2021, it benefits only a small share of parents. Did you notice items that were not on the budget I just showed you? There is no line item for the clothing needed to present a professional appearance, and no money for after-school activities so children can participate in sports or benefit from other hobbies. Something else not on that budget: emergency savings. In November 2021, only 41% of households below the ALICE threshold had enough rainy day funds to cover 3 months of expenses. When faced with a hypothetical expense of $400, 63% of all adults in 2022 said they would have covered it exclusively using cash or equivalents. The remainder said they would have paid by borrowing or selling something, or said they would not have been able to cover the expense. What could or would you sell to keep your car on the road and avoid a job loss? This table is an excerpt from a data set that looks at the 20 most common occupations in Connecticut in 2021. Given that wages had stagnated for a decade, many of the most common jobs still had a substantial percentage of workers who lived below the ALICE threshold in 2021. For a family of 4 with 2 small children, the 2 adults would need 2 full-time jobs at $27 per hour each to make ends meet. That's $54 an hour. Think of the people who do these jobs and how we depend on them. We continue to see significant disparities by race and gender in the ALICE data. Black and brown families and female-headed households with children disproportionately live below the ALICE threshold. In 2021, the largest number of households below the ALICE threshold were white, making up 33% of all white households. You can read the numbers before you to see that while the number of struggling households was lower for smaller population groups, the percentage of those households living below the ALICE threshold was disproportionately higher. The pandemic both exacerbated the disparities as well as exposed them. We could see with startling clarity that hardships are experienced at different rates. During the pandemic, we stepped up to help each other, but some of that support had an expiration date. It's startling to realize that we saw the greatest reduction in the rates of childhood poverty and the greatest reduction in the poverty rates between white children and families and black and brown children thanks to enhanced federal tax credits. Prices have increased dramatically at a time when help expired. The ALICE report does a good job of analyzing data, helping us to draw conclusions and look forward. This slide demonstrates that projection and the negative impact that United Way is seeking to mitigate as we help ALICE. Not only are costs increasing, but a line graph of the household budget over time shows the dramatic rate of increase. The same decade that saw wages stagnate has seen budgets almost double. With the cost of basics climbing higher and ALICE wages failing to keep up, workers have lost buying power. For a retail salesperson in Connecticut, the sustained lag behind the actual cost of basic goods equates to nearly $42,500 over the last 15 years, more than a full year's earnings. The value of studies like this are that when we know more, we can do more. We can look at steps to set vulnerable families on a firmer foundation. And if we do that, the benefits will help families thrive and reach their potential. United Way of Greater Waterbury is creating opportunities to help increase the financial stability of ALICE families. From financial coaching through Trust Plus, coaching and job training through the Financial Opportunity Center, returning over $1.2 million to local low-income families through volunteer income tax assistance, and filling budgetary gaps through food pantries and other basic needs, United Way is working to help stabilize families. When we know more, we can do more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for taking action through your support of United Way.